tell you about what else was in your mind.
All right, how we all feeling? Doing all right? Everybody ready to listen to me talk, or should I just go sit over there again? All right, cool. I did this talk yesterday and I forgot a key feature, so I wanted to redo it again, so this is it, round 2. So the talk today is something called lipolysis, which is the body's ability to burn the fat that is already on you. So what is it? Lipolysis. It's a funny phrase for fat break. Essentially taking the fat within your tissues and utilizing them for energy, aka fat burning, also known as fat oxidation. Now, our bodies are very intuitive. They store fat when we have an excess of nutrients here, anywhere you can grab onto that doesn't feel like a muscle. That's your body hanging on to something for a rainy day. Lipolysis. Now, we want, ideally, to be able to access that fat for energy when needed. In a healthy individual who has a normal functioning metabolism and a healthy diet, we can access that fat tissue for energy when it's required. Now, our body typically burns 2 fuels, carbohydrate and fat. Carbohydrate is short-term, high intensity, whereas fat is long-term and lower intensity. You guys sitting around right now are oxidizing fat. And the way I want you guys to think of this is not necessarily an on or off switch, it's more like a dimmer switch. Depending on the intensity of the effort and how you eat, you are either able to ramp up and burn carbohydrate or ramp down and burn more fat. In most people, the fat is trapped on them, and even though they have this giant tank of energy hanging around here, they're not able to access it. When we take in nutrients, fats, carbohydrates, protein, our body responds with an insulin spike. Essentially put things into our face and our body goes, all right, we need to get those broken down via our digestive system and delivered to the tissues that need them. When we eat something, our body responds again with insulin, which is the storage hormone. This is telling our body to put things into cells, And that happens when we are deplete of energy. Our body needs energy. We take food in, insulin spikes, food goes to the tissues then can use the energy to do things like grow, repair, or exercise like you just did. The opposing hormone is called glucagon. Glucagon is a mobilization hormone. It tells our body to break things down so that we can use them. In a healthy person, when we are low of energy and we haven't taken anything in, blood sugar is low, glucagon tells our body to break things down along with 2 other hormones, norepinephrine and epinephrine. These are what we call mobilization hormones. So when you're sitting around and you get up off the couch and you go for a jog, right, your blood sugar would drop if you hadn't just eaten. This hormone would tell your body to release energy so you can use that energy for fuel for exercise. These 2 work in counterbalance with one another. So you either have lots of energy floating around and insulin is high, or you have low energy, insulin is low, and glucagon is high. They are typically not both high at the exact same time. Now, glucagon, norepinephrine, and epinephrine help our body trigger an enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase. And essentially all that means is that when glucagon is released, this hormone tells your fat tissues, your adipose cells, to release triglycerides, which are the storage form of fat that your body uses to create energy. That hormone-sensitive lipase takes a triglyceride, which is a molecule that is 1 part glycerol and 3 parts fatty acids, and it breaks them apart, effectively releasing both the glycerol and the fatty acids from one another where they can be used by your body for energy. The glycerol that comes off that triglyceride is then shuttled to your liver where it can turn into glucose via something called gluconeogenesis, which is a really fancy word for making sugar out of something else. The fatty acids will attach to your bloodstream via your albumin and be delivered to things like your muscle cells, your liver, your brain, your heart, all these other tissues. Once these fatty acids are delivered to the tissues, they go through something called beta oxidation, which is just basically turning the fatty acid into fuel that can then be turned into ATP, which is the energy we use for everything in our life. However, if you are someone who practices the standard American diet, which is typically between 50 and 80% carbohydrate, you are constantly bombarding yourself with sugar. Sugar, carbohydrate, cranks up insulin. When insulin is high, fat burning is low or non-existent. So if we are constantly pumping in junk into our face, we are unable to access the fat stores on our body because your body will always preferentially burn glucose ahead of fat. It works like this. You take some food in, that food turns into glucose. And if that glucose is all the energy you need for what you're doing, your body says, cool, we'll just burn what's in the bloodstream. Once that gets low, glucagon kicks in and says, all right, let's break down the glycogen stored in our liver and muscle tissues. And we go to the next fuel, which is glycogen. Now, only when these two fuel sources are exhausted and insulin is low do you move on to beta oxidation, which again is burning your fat tissue. That is getting the body to release the fatty acids from your adipose tissue, put them in the bloodstream so they can be delivered to the tissues that need energy. This is a very long-lasting and clean energy. There's not a lot of negative byproducts from burning the fat on your body, where there is when you have chronically elevated glucose. So if you're concerned with burning your fat, you have here, we need to keep insulin low. We do that through a few different mechanisms. First, easiest one, well, simplest one, maybe not easy, it's probably the hardest one, honestly. Don't eat carbohydrate in excess. Eat to support your exercise, but not body fat. That's the first thing you can do. The second thing you can do is exercise. Teaching your body to go short, medium, and long allows it to switch back and forth freely between burning carbohydrate for energy when things need to be short or explosive, and then back to fat burning when we're doing things of low intensity. So like tomorrow, for example, we have a long workout planned. You're gonna start that workout burning exclusively glucose. But as the workout goes on, eventually you're gonna run out of glucose and you'll slowly shift to burning fat tissue. Your body will sense that you need energy, will release glucagon, norepinephrine, epinephrine, so that you break down your fat tissue and you can turn those fatty acids into energy for long sustained efforts. Now, if you're severely metabolically deranged, meaning you have chronically high blood sugar or high insulin, one of the best remedies is fasting. Think of fasting like just giving your body a break, letting the insulin drop low enough that we can turn lipolysis back on so we can metabolize the fat on our body. And then the last thing we talk about here is sleep and recovery, right? So far, a lot of these things that we talked about so far are hormone-driven. Hormone, an enzyme based on hormones. If we want our hormones to work the way they're supposed to, we need to rest, aka get sleep, and allow for recovery in between so things function optimally. When we don't allow ourselves to rest or we train too frequently, we stay in this fight or flight mode, elevates our cortisol and keeps us burning sugar, not burning fat. So the take-home message for all of you here is we want lipolysis in our body. We want to be able to burn the fat, but we have to understand the mechanisms for how that happens. And that is dropping our insulin low enough that we can actually start to break down the fat tissue on our body. I think the easiest way to explain this is to use an example, analogy, right? So think about starting a fire. When we start a fire, we typically use like paper and kindling to get it going, right? Because it catches really easy, it burns really fast, and it burns really hot. But how hard would it be to have a fire if you only fed it kindling? How much work would you have to do to constantly stoke that fire if you were only using kindling for the fire? It would burn super hot, but you'd be constantly going back to the pile and throwing more in, and throwing more in, and throwing more in. I want you to think of throwing the kindling in the fire like putting carbohydrate in your face. You're constantly working to fill it up, to fill it up. When you have someone who's chronically elevated insulin, they always feel tired and always feel hungry. Their body can't sense that it's full, or what they call replete with carbohydrate. And as a result, it's asking for more, asking for more. This is the same as someone who goes, wakes up, hits Starbucks, gets one of those milkshakes over there. Next thing they're doing, they're getting a donut, then they're eating snacks, and then in the break room, and they're going to the vending machine, and they're constantly just putting things in all day, constantly elevating that blood sugar. They are not able to tap into the fat source. If they actually just chilled out for a bit, maybe ate protein in the morning and skipped Starbucks, and allowed their body to let the insulin drop, then you can start to burn the stuff that's already on you, the stuff that most people were like, man, it'd be nice if this wasn't here anymore. That's how you get there. In the fire example, fat are like logs, right? Once the fire gets burning with the carbohydrate, if you throw a couple logs in the fire, you get to sit there and relax for a bit, right? You're not constantly running back and forth to get logs. The logs burn slower, they burn longer. We want to think of our body in the very same manner. We want our body to be able to burn the logs, not the kindling. And that only happens when we reduce the carbohydrate, we exercise regularly, fasting occasionally if we're someone who's severely metabolically deranged, to let that insulin drop. And then most importantly for a lot of us here, prioritize sleep and recovery. I know a lot of you like to come here 6-7 days a week, and that's great. I love that you love being here, but your body also loves rest. So you should listen to your body. You feel like you're dragging, you don't feel like you have energy for the day, realize it's okay to take a rest day. Meet your friends here, grab a rucksack, go for a walk. They don't all need to be super intense. But ultimately, what I'm trying to get you to understand is that you guys have the machinery already built into you to metabolize fat. You have to let that machinery work, and it only works when we pay attention to how we eat and how we behave. Now, this is a little bit of a sidebar here, but if you go into the lobby between us and our neighbors, you can see this little pamphlet. Health Monitor, Diabetes, I'm full of energy and unstoppable. This is a magazine made by the pharmaceutical company to tell you how awesome it is to take their drugs and keep eating like an asshole. This fucking book is literally just, I'm an asshole, I can't stop putting shit in my face, but thank God for medication. And I'm not kidding you. On your way out, grab one, read it. Every person in here would be well better off if they found a community like this, got some support, and stopped putting fucking cake and cookies in their fucking face, and exercise every once in a while. This is not the way forward. This will still lead to them dying of chronic disease. It's just slowing the roll. They're still gonna fucking die because they can't stop putting junk in their face. I'm sorry for all the swears, but I'm really fucking passionate about this bullshit. I fucking hate this shit. This is really bad, all right? So if you've got a friend or family member, you can't come in hot like I'm coming in hot with all of you guys. I know you guys know why I'm saying it the way I am. You gotta come in with compassion. Say, hey guys, I know a place that can help you. I would love to meet them and help them. But it starts with simple changes first. We look at the gym here as kind of like a Trojan horse. It gets you here thinking like, all right, all I gotta do is I gotta exercise. And you come in here like, cool, why this guy won't shut the hell up about carbohydrate? Here's why. This place is the solution to your problems. This is the solution to chronic disease. So many people think they can just come here and out-exercise a bad diet. You guys know who Billie Jean King is? Tennis player? She gave herself diabetes through her shitty diet. She trained tennis 6 hours a day and still got diabetes. So I'm here to tell you that your hour a day won't fix your problem. It's just part of the solution. The solution is diet first, then exercise. I want you guys to think about eating to support your activity, not being active so you can eat like a toddler in a candy store. I know you guys know this, and I'm just being dramatic now. But again, I really think you guys should grab one of these on your way out, mostly to get them out of my lobby. But also so you can learn something. This is how the mainstream thinks you fix your fucking problems. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not. This is just delaying the inevitable. Thanks, guys.